Hello YouTube, this is Mahadeva, OG Thunder Wizard. So, question today is, which I've been getting a lot lately, which is a worthwhile question, which is, can you achieve enlightenment or, whatever we're talking about, high levels of spiritual advancement, get the rainbow body, whatever it is that you're looking for. Can you get this alone? Can you get this without a teacher? And I have a video here which, maybe I'll talk about the same kind of stuff today, but I'm going to put the link in here for you in the chat section. This is a video where I talk about sorry, I just got distracted by somebody's first question. That video talks about the student-teacher relationship. What is a student-teacher relationship? What is the point of all that? God Emperor thinks he inspired this. I don't know how you did that, but congratulations to you for doing it. I've been getting this question a lot in a lot of the live streams. When I've been talking about some of the recent live streams where I've been talking about some of the high-level spiritual, energetic transformations that you can achieve with spiritual disciplines, different energy work specifically. What I'm really doing, and by the way, what I'm doing here with the 90-day challenge, if you go to thunderwizard.com, click around for 90-day challenge. In that 90-day challenge, I don't talk about anything. I actually walk you through a daily practice. That is a morning, an afternoon, and an evening practice, which is what I do. You want to know what I do to get the connections that I get, to be able to manifest reality the way that I want it, the things that I talk about? These are the things. It's the energy practices that do it. So people have been asking me, will you walk us through it? So even though I have tons of videos and tons of meditations and mantras and qigong and all that, people want an A, B, C, D, F, and G. So I went ahead and created that for you, which is this. And I have to tell you, that's the most important thing. For me, the most important thing is doing the energy work. The second in importance, but also necessary, is the interaction between teacher and student. And so that's one question that's been asked is, can I do this alone? The answer to that question is yes and no. And I'll explain why that is. And then another question which I get asked a lot is, why do I charge money for apprenticeship? So let me be clear. I do not charge money for my teaching. Right now you're listening to me and it's costing you nothing. I am not getting a dime from, unless you choose to support the channel in some financial way. I'm not getting anything from you. So let's be clear about that. I am giving a transmission. If you do the Hool breath, let me write that down for you in case you're new. If you do the Hool breath, that is an initiation transmission into the practice that I do, the lineage. What I mean by lineage is the ascended masters that I work with. It doesn't cost you anything. You never have to communicate with me. I never even have to know you're there. So let's be clear about that. You want to learn from me and you don't want to pay, you don't have to. If you want in-depth techniques, then you're probably going to have to come out of pocket for something, a subscription or one of the other scenarios. Like I've got the lockdown package. Don't have it on here because I'm getting ready to shut it down. Let me put that here, lockdown.thunderwizard.com. That is definitely going to be out of commission probably this month, but definitely before the beginning of the year. And I may end it tomorrow, but I would go there and check that out. You can save a buttload of money on pretty much all the stuff, $2,000 worth of teaching. You don't want to do that? No problem. Go onto my channel, put the time and the effort to learn. Even things like the Hool breath, even things like Thor's hammer qigong. There's multiple mantras and meditations and energy works and runes things and how to, I've got rituals on there, how to get $10,000, in 90 days or 30 days or something like that. And people, have been emailing me going, oh my God, I did it and I got $10,000. So, I don't make any guarantees, but, there's really no reason to say that I charge money to teach, because I don't. But if you want to work with me one-on-one or some of the other things, you might have to come out of pocket. And so the question is that spiritual? Because I just recently got an email from somebody. Now, I have no personal gripe with this person. So let me just be clear about that. I have no personal gripe with this person whatsoever. But this person emailed me, and as you know, I don't want that. If you want to ask me a question and you want me to address a question for free, you can leave a question here in the YouTube comment section or in the live stream. I'm happy to answer any question that's brought to me, but please don't email me in my private email unless you're already a paying student or apprentice or a friend. That's what my email is for. Otherwise, I wouldn't get anything done. This person doesn't know that. I can tell already from this email, this person hasn't watched my channel very much. So they don't know, they don't understand. So what I'm trying to do in this video, the best I can, is I want to reveal to you how you may be unknowingly sabotaging your ability to learn directly from the universe. Because again, the question that I posed at the beginning is, can you achieve high levels of energetic transformation, enlightenment, etc., etc.? Can you do that without a teacher? Can you do that by yourself? And the answer to that question is yes and no. So let me answer the yes part of the question. The yes part of the question is yes, you can. In fact, that is where you are destined to go. And that's where I'm at in my personal, where I'm at now is that there's no, at least I can't find one. I'm open to it. The universe knows that. If there's another living teacher out there in this particular tradition that I'm working on that actually knows some techniques and things that I don't, I am more than happy to work with them, and I will pay them money for their time, whatever it is. So far, I don't think that's the case. I think I've gotten to a level, and also masters are dying off. So what ends up happening is that there's only people that have part of the information, and so I have to bring it all together, which is kind of what I do with all of this stuff. What I teach you now is me bringing together all of these different things so you have a complete tradition. And just like with me, it's pretty much impossible for anybody to master everything that I've learned and everything that I teach. The system is just too big. Even I don't have time to, work with the stuff that I, all the stuff that I have. And so you end up in the scenario where at some point, if you get to a certain level, you have to work directly with the universe because there's no more physical teachers to teach you. Sometimes there are, but most of the time not. At least in my experience anyway. It all depends on your dharma and your karma and your orlog. And my orlog is I've always had to do it kind of this way. So the answer is that that's where you're supposed to end up. Now, the thing is, you have to know how to interact with the universe to get the universe to teach you. Because if you think about it, pick somebody. Trying to think of some of the big teachers you might know of. Like Babaji, the guy who's Kriya Yoga, who supposedly, is still alive. He's still an immortal, walking around, walking through walls. He's still around there. Supposedly this guy, taught people this thing called Kriya Yoga, and he's still around. There are legends in the art that I practice that there's people like that. They're still around. Either you can't see them and or they can walk through walls. They're still around. And then there's also the ascended masters, the masters of the traditions that live in the ethers. Every person that has some powerful energy practice, what happened is they got that directly from the universe. So you will eventually get to the point where you can have that. My job is to help you get to that point. So if you're not clear about that, that is completely what I want to do. It hasn't happened yet, but nobody would be happier than me than to say to somebody, hey, you know what? There's nothing more I can teach you. So go now, you have all the tools, now you and the universe figure it out. That hasn't happened yet, but I'd be happy to do that. It's happened in little things. There are things that, certain things that I teach where people have gotten, to the point where they're beyond what I know. In fact, this guy right here, Mark Graham. See right there? Mark Graham at the bottom. This is Runes for Writers. You can go search for him, Mark Graham, Runes for Writers. He created a bunch of stuff based on stuff that I taught, and he went beyond what I knew. In fact, I told him, I said, I don't even understand this anymore. This is beyond my pay grade. And I love that. I hand over the tools to you, you go figure it out. That's what a real teacher really wants. A real teacher, like a real parent. A true parent wants their kids to be more successful and more happy than they were. A true teacher wants you to surpass them. I want you to surpass me. I have absolutely zero need to keep you as a student or an apprentice. So the short answer is yes, you can, but the question is, can you do that? That's what they're really asking. When people ask me, can I achieve that by myself without a teacher? What they really want to know is, can I right now, in my current state of awareness with the current tools that I have, can I achieve what you're talking about? And then you hear my answer and I go, why would you ask that question? Where is that question coming from? Because it's not like like me, you've trained with this guy and that guy and that guy and that guy, and for whatever reason, I've come to the point where either they're not available and or they don't have any more that they can teach me. Even if they have more energy than I do, there's nothing more they can teach. I got to go figure it out. You're not at that level, to my knowledge. Maybe you are and I'm not aware of it. But if you're coming to me, especially if you're like, in your 20s or something, and you're looking for that teacher and that thing, and you're like, can I do this alone? The question is, why would you ask that question? There's somebody staring at you. You're looking at him right now, and he's got some skills and some experience you don't have. Maybe you'll surpass me. I'm totally okay with that. But right now, do you have just the basic skills and techniques? So the answer would be no. You can't. You got to have somebody show you at least the technique or something. If not, good luck. Now, the problem is people who ask that question they've already closed their mind off. Their mind is closed and they can't receive the information they need to receive. Teachers are there. The ascended masters are floating around the universe. They're floating over the globe of the earth. They're walking around and they're looking. I can tell you from personal experience, they are looking for somebody that will be able to understand the knowledge and the techniques that they have. They're looking for it. So the answer is yes. Can you learn it alone? Yes. There are ascended masters out there looking for you. The question is, can they get through to you? Now, if you are asking questions like, can I do this by myself? They're already going, oh. Because they probably have 2 or 3 people who have some knowledge that you need. Maybe that's not the complete path that you need, but you got to get started somewhere. Because one of the things a teacher will do, and I think I talk about this in my video that I put on here, which is, I left the link here for you for the other video, the student-teacher relationship. One of the things a true teacher does is a true teacher teaches the student how to ask the universe the right questions. If you don't have the right questions, you won't get an answer. Have you noticed that when people ask me questions, I do things like, listen, that question doesn't serve you. Here's what you really want to know. I'm doing that. I know that I can be a pain in the ass, and I know that I know all of the way that I am. I understand it. But trust me, if you can get your ego out of the way, and when I'm coming at you with, that's a stupid question, here's what you really need to ask, You can listen to what I'm saying and apply it. I'm giving you a nugget that can potentially make you the next Babaji. Because the universe is not codependent. Meaning you cannot manipulate the universe. You cannot kiss the universe's ass. You cannot make the universe feel guilty. You cannot in any way get the universe to cajole its secrets to you if you don't understand how energy is transmitted to you via learning, via teaching. Because you could be getting all the information right now all the time and it would just be bouncing off of your head because you don't know how to listen and you don't know how to ask. How do I know? Because I've been there. And I've had those revelations when I learned how to ask the right questions and things happened and I learned stuff that I couldn't have learned from anybody else. But I couldn't have gotten to the place where I was unless I spent some time with a teacher. So a real teacher, the way they interact with you is teaching you how to have a mindset that connects you to the universe and to the ancestors. And they are teaching you how to energetically receive information. So there are different kinds of teachers, but it all comes down to the same thing, and they all do it in different ways. In my experience with Asian teachers is that if you ask the wrong question, they just, without saying anything, just turn around and walk away. They don't yell at you. They don't do what I do and try and, smack you into reality. They just walk away from it. And so it's trial and error. And when you do things in the right way, you're rewarded by they give you a teaching. Or they'll come to you and they say, okay, you're ready for this now. And if you don't like it, too bad. If you show up to, I don't know how things are now, but the traditional, Chinese teachers, if you walk into their studio and you break the protocol in any particular way, either they don't teach you, they don't acknowledge you, or they kick you out. And that if you watched like the Kung Fu series from the 70s, if you've ever watched it, maybe not, I'm dating myself, but Kwai Chang Caine and a bunch of kids are dropped off in front of the Shaolin Temple. And so the Master Po comes out every day and he says, you, and you go home. The rest of you, I'll be back tomorrow. And he closes the temple door and they go back. And each day he comes out and just looking at their behavior, he says, you go home. He'll say, please go home, and you can stay. So he finally does that at the very end, and then there's Kwai Chang Caine and one other kid. And he says, okay, everybody else go away. You two come with me. And he takes the two kids and he sits them down and they have a tea ceremony. And so he's pouring out the tea and he puts the tea in front of everybody and he puts the tea in front of himself. And then the other kid picks up the tea and starts drinking it. And to which he says, thank you, please go home. And little Kwai Chang Caine is sitting there and he hasn't drunk yet. And he says, Kwai Chang, why did you, actually he wasn't called Kwai Chang at that point, whatever his name was. Why did you not drink the tea yet? And he says, well, because elders go first. And at that point, the guy picks up the tea and he drinks it, and then Kwai Chang Caine drinks the tea, which means that he understood. It wasn't so much that he was following the rules, it meant that he understood the connection, which meant the teacher goes, I can teach this guy. And I promise you, including myself, every real teacher out there is waiting for the students where he can go, I can teach that guy. I can teach that girl. And so the universe is doing the same thing. So we don't know. You don't know. I've got an email here I'm going to read to you. This guy does not know. He doesn't understand protocol. He doesn't understand how, he doesn't mean to be, but he doesn't understand how incredibly offensive he is. He doesn't understand how demeaning he is. He doesn't understand how entitled he is. He doesn't understand this. It's not an attack. If he ends up watching this, this is an attack. And the only reason I'm sharing it with you is because you asked. You said, what are my thoughts? So I'm going to share my thoughts. But if you can get your ego out of the way and listen, I can show you how to become an ascended master by working directly with the universe. When and how that happens for you, that's not something I can say. if you're like me, or like most anybody out there, you're going to have to go through the trial and error process that happens between the teacher and the student until you figure out how to communicate with the universe, which a true teacher is showing you by example what to do. So I told you how the Chinese masters, in my experience, they deal with you. Other teachers and other traditions do different things. I'm going to come at you based on how I am, and I'm going to tell you you're full of crap. By the way, if I end up saying to somebody, I'm probably the wrong teacher for you, it means that I have come to the conclusion that there's just really no hope of communicating with you whatsoever. So I say, I'm probably not the right teacher for you. If I think there's hope, I'm going to try and smack you into some reality. I'm going to do it in a way that might be challenging to your ego. And again, that's because I am coming from a desire to help you get to where I want to be. Because I want to be in that space where it's just me and the universe. And I've had that experience, and the older I get, and the more that I train, the more that experience is happening for me. So I would, if I could give it to you tomorrow, I would. So let me see. Let me just read a little bit of this email. Again, this is nothing personal. I have nothing against this individual, but he did ask for my thoughts at the end of the email. So I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he says, the first, he's got 1, 2, 3, 4 huge paragraphs. And really the only thing he wants to ask is, I can sum it up in one sentence. Can you teach me for free? That's really all he wants to know. But he spends four paragraphs asking that one question. So here's lesson number 1. Just be authentic and honest. If you notice in my live streams, I say, if you ask me an honest question, I will answer you. If you're sarcastic, I'm going to give you a hard time if you're lucky. If you're abusive, I'm going to block you. If you are in denial, or if you don't know, then I'm going to do things to try and help you understand. Like when people ask, can I get to that level on my own? And I say, where is that question coming from? You've got somebody looking you in the face who has skills that will make it easier for you. Why in the world why aren't you thinking about how can I get that person to teach me what I need? Why are you just now? That's a way of me trying to change your thinking so you can align your thinking. Because here's the deal. The universe, as I said, is not codependent. And what happens when you do not interact with the universe, because you have a relationship with the universe. If you do not have a working relationship with the universe, your experience will be that you're not getting any answers. Your experience will be that the universe is denying you this and denying you that. When the universe is going, I have it right here. You've got to be the one to allow me to give it to you. I can't until you pull your head out of your ass. So a teacher, if he or she is doing his job right, is going to help you pull your head out of your ass. And all of us start out with our heads up our ass. That's why when you go to a teacher, you do things like you sit at the teacher's feet and you don't say anything. And you wait until the teacher says this and do this. When you want to learn, empty force kung fu from some guy, you walk into a studio, he says, stand in the corner like this. And if you even ask how long, he says, you know what, never mind, leave. You just go and stand in the corner and you stay in that until he tells you to get out of it. You don't ask why. You don't ask, what am I going to get from this? You don't, any of those questions. You ask any of those questions, a lot of it, they'll just kick you out. Sorry, I can't help you. I'm not your teacher. I'm the wrong teacher. You certainly don't do things like show up and say, I want to know exactly what I'm going to get from learning from you. I get that a lot too. You certainly don't walk in and say, hey, teacher so-and-so teaches this, 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 and that. What are your thoughts on his teaching? They're going to say, get out. It's nothing personal. It means that they go, I'm not going to be able to teach this guy. He won't be able to learn. I'm going to waste my time. And so you've got to learn how to do that if you want to be at that place. So let me get to this email. So this email, the guy, the first paragraph is him telling me how much he knows. I'm not going to get into it. I'm not even going to bother reading it, but it's a huge paragraph, everything that he knows. And he lists teachers that I don't know anything about. So that tells me he hasn't watched my videos. He doesn't really know what I teach. And he's trying to impress me. I mean, if he knows so much, why is he coming to me? Seriously, I'm not competing with you. You know more than I do. You know all that stuff. He doesn't realize he's doing it. He's spouting off because of this, that, and that tells me a lot. The bottom line of all this, let me just get to the root of it before I go any further. When somebody says that spiritual teachers should not charge money because it's not spiritual, what I already know, I know nothing about them, but from that moment on, I already know, and this is again not a judgment, I understand it. They didn't get enough love from their parents. They didn't get enough love from their mom and or instruction from their dad. So one thing you have to know, and I'm telling you this because if you're watching this and you are one of those people who feels like, I'm this amazing person, which you are, and I could become a spiritual master, which you can. Why do I have to pay money for somebody to give me spiritual teaching? If somebody is an enlightened spiritual master, they should see the essence of who I am and they should want to teach me for free. If they don't, it means that they're selfish and they're just in it for the money and I can't trust them. If that is your feeling, and a lot of people in the West have it, it doesn't have anything to do with learning spirituality. It means you want love. You want mom and dad to love you. And what you're doing is you're transferring your feelings for your parents onto a spiritual teacher. And then what I'm telling you, this person is asking me, without coming out, this person is asking me if I will teach them for free. And they're trying to make the case of, look at how smart I am, look at how much I know, I'm the perfect student, they actually use those words, I'm the perfect apprentice, why don't you want to teach me for free? But what you should know is, if I said, you know what, I will teach you for free, that person doesn't realize they have now opened the door for me to abuse them. They think they're getting away from being abused because now, he's not charging me money, so now it's just a personal connection. It's a personal relationship, and it should never be a personal relationship. I have a lot of personal feelings of warmth and connection for my teacher, but it is not a personal relationship, and it never will be. And that's because he loves me too much. And that sounds weird, but he wants the best for me, and he knows that if he were to drop the teacher-student protocols, that he would be potentially damaging me. Because there is no human being on the planet who has no agenda. Everybody has an agenda. The question is, which agenda is going to work best for you? If you want to marry somebody, then the agenda is, I love you, I want you to love me. If you're having sex with somebody, the agenda is, I want to be sexually satisfied, and so I'm going to do things that turn you on, so you'll do things that turn me on, and when we do it together at the same time, there's two agendas going on. The student-teacher relationship is that, yes, the teacher wants to find a student that will learn. But he also knows that he must protect the student from his emotional agendas. So every time you go to a teacher and say, I want to learn for free, you are asking that teacher to abuse you. You are saying, I want you to take the protocol, the student-teacher protocol, and throw it away, so that we can have a close personal bond. When you do that, you think what you're going to get out of that is love and understanding. You are projecting onto the teacher that the teacher is going to be like the perfect mother is for the infant. Mother looks at the infant and says, this is an infant. I want to experience the true essence of this infant and do everything in my power to bring their true essence out. If you want that from a teacher, you are asking the wrong person, because a teacher is not your mother. The teacher is somebody who themselves is working towards their evolution, and if they don't admit that, if they say that they've achieved it, run. Don't have anything to do with a teacher who says, I have achieved it and I'm here to give you, run. A true teacher is somebody who teaches because that is part of their training. Anybody who trains in martial arts knows this. Like, you can learn certain techniques, and once you've learned certain techniques, you have to test them out. The way you test them out is in practical application. You say to the student, okay, come at me with the right cross. And then you get to practice your block and parry. And at the same time, the student is learning the block and parry. And then he gets to turn around and teach somebody else. So if any teacher isn't teaching because they themselves are teaching so that they can advance, run. Because that is somebody who is either in denial or somebody who is seeking to abuse you. Now, there's a spectrum to all of this. There isn't the perfect and then the evil. There's all kinds of, in between, and everybody's learning. So what this person doesn't realize by asking me to teach them for free is that they're asking me to abuse them. Has anybody watched the recent thing on the Nexium cult? Look at what the Nexium cult is all about. You'll see it. That's exactly what that guy does. And what does he do? He ended up creating a sex cult where people gave themselves up and let him brand his initials on them in the hopes of learning something. And, it was they wanted to achieve, maybe they didn't know it was spiritual, but same kind of thing. And he set himself up as this, the most intelligent person in the world kind of thing. So he doesn't realize that. So he says to me, he tells me how much he knows, trying to, get my approval. Again, I'm not your mother. I'm not your dad. I'm a teacher. I don't care about how much you know. I really don't. I want you to know everything, but if you already know it, then there's no reason for me, and I didn't come to you to learn. I'm going to go do my own thing. You come to me because there's something you think I have that you want. Oh, great. I'll help you with what I know. So he tells me how much he knows, and then he tries to manipulate me by telling me how great my approach is to spirituality, and then he spells it out. I already know what my approach is. I don't need you to tell me what it is. So he tries to manipulate me. He may not even realize he's doing this, but I'm just telling you, this is what a lot of people do. And then he brings up the problem, which is, then I dug a little further and got confused. The introductory apprenticeship is locked behind a paywall. And then he makes the argument that it's not in my best interest to have a paywall, as he calls it, between him and the apprenticeship, because as a teacher, and he's gleaned something I said, and he says, I'm really glad that you said, and then he puts words in my mouth where he says that my job is to find somebody who I can give all of my teaching to. That's true, but he took it out of context, and he's saying it's counterintuitive for you if what you want is to find somebody who will learn all your stuff, but yet what a shame it would be if I'm here, the perfect student, but I don't have the money to pay you. You'd be the one at the loss. So here he is then, he's teaching me now. So if you know all this and you know more than I do, then I'm obviously the wrong teacher. Why would you come to somebody who they're not doing it right? Let me explain to you how you should do it. Why would you want them to teach you? It's because he doesn't want me to teach him. He thinks he wants to be my apprentice because he thinks he wants to learn, but the truth is he needs a daddy. He wants daddy to love him. And daddy shouldn't charge you to take you out fishing. I'm not your dad. So the other thing is, you've got to know, the truth is, if I have something you want, like when I wanted to learn the spirit fighting, and I wanted to learn specific skills, if I wanted to learn, let's say you wanted to learn how to levitate, you want to learn how to control people's minds, you want some superpower, and there's some guy out there that has it, you're going to pay him because I want that. He doesn't even know what I have. He doesn't even know if I have anything he wants. Because if he did, he'd pay me for it. The stuff that I teach this, the things that I teach, he would pay me for it. Now, it's also okay if you're an apprentice and you don't know what you want. Now, that does happen with me, and I have apprentices who have come to me who say, I don't know what I want, I just know I feel a connection with you and with what you're teaching, and so they don't know where to start, so they become an apprentice. And so each week, we talk things over, and some come to me with questions. Other people, everybody's different, so I change myself to meet their needs, whatever they are. So it is possible to not know what you want and know, I just want that teacher. That's okay too. But in either case, they know what they want. They either want a specific skill from me, or they just know that they want my tutelage, my teaching, which really means that on an unconscious level, they can feel the ascended masters that I work with, and they want that energy transmission. So both of those are okay. But this guy doesn't know what he wants. He doesn't know if I have something that he wants, and he doesn't know if I'm the right teacher, and he's testing me. So he goes on, like I said, to make he's again trying to manipulate me by saying that it's in my best interest to not charge him because, my karmic job is to give all of my knowledge to one person. So he's obviously wanting to be that one person. And then he gets honest and he goes on to say that it bothers him. And then he makes the argument that it is unspiritual for a spiritual teacher to charge money. And he goes, one of the biggest paragraphs is him telling me how, he's trying to educate me on American culture and materialism and all that kind of stuff. And then his last one, this is his last words to me. He says, for your knowledge is too fast to simply be an employed spiel for financial gain. Let's just listen to that phrase. This is a guy coming to me wanting me to teach him, and think about what he just accused me of doing. He says, your knowledge is far too vast to simply be an employed spiel for financial gain. Then he says, all the same, though, to me, the apparent disconnect between the spiritual need and purpose, meaning my purpose, to carry on the knowledge and legacy, and the barrier erected for monetary gain puzzles me. And I just want to ask, if he's watching, how is that supposed to inspire me to want to teach you? You've just attacked my integrity. You've just said that I am in this only for the monetary gain and that I'm manipulating people just for money. And then instead of asking me, would you consider teaching me for free? He says, what are your thoughts on all that? So I'm giving my thoughts on that. That's a very passive-aggressive question. It's not authentic. Again, this whole thing, I didn't even read the whole thing, but the whole thing was really, he wants to say, I'm a really smart person. I think I'm the perfect apprentice, and you should teach me for free. But instead, he goes through all this. But I'm not angry with him, as I said, and I'm not judging him because I've been there. I had those same feelings about my teachers, and I had probably the same scenario. Based on that, I have the feeling, number one, he wants to impress Dad. And number two, he wants love. He wants unconditional love. He wants to be seen. He wants to be supported. He wants a cheerleader who will tell him how wonderful he is in life. And he wants somebody who doesn't have any other agenda other than to see and love him unconditionally. And none of those things are teachers. And you do not want a teacher to want any of those things. Because, as I said, the teacher is going to abuse you. Anyway, I put a link up here. You can watch all that. So let's see here. Let me talk about transmission. So one of the reasons that you want to work with a teacher, so for those that are saying, can I learn this alone? First off, I understand all of the reasons, both positive and the dysfunctional, destructive reasons. I understand all of them because I've had all those same thoughts and feelings. But there's a practical understanding that you need to understand, and this is why only people in the West ask this question. Modern Westerners ask this question, whereas if you go to India or to China or even to Africa, you want to train with an African shaman, Native Americans even, you don't hear them even think this way because they already assume that what they need is to have a transmission of energy from the ascended masters. And the only way to do that, but forget about the only way, the most practical and beneficial way to do that is through a human teacher. Because if a human teacher has reached a certain level of wisdom or energy or skill or whatever it is, it means that that person has an energy flow that comes to them from the ascended masters who are constantly empowering them. And what you want is you want to be on the other end of that empowerment. Those ascended masters want to give you that energy also, and the teacher becomes the physical conduit through which that energy comes. Now, if you can do that on your own, great. But that's not how the universe works. Very rare instances will somebody, create something out of the blue. They usually have to learn and get energy transmission from somebody else. You want an energy transmission from me, you can do the Hool breath for free. It won't cost you anything. I never even have to know you exist. But if you work with me, you're going to get an energy transmission from talking to me. And you'll, if somebody, I'm not teaching anybody martial arts right now, but if I was teaching the spirit fighting, they would get an energy transference from me practically showing them how it works. So you want to have that. You want to create that because they are going to bring you up. They want to bring you up to their level. And they do that through whatever means they can. And in order for you to learn how to be on your own with them, you first have to learn how to interact with a teacher in a way that will get you the most knowledge. That's what a teacher is all about. And if you can't understand that, like I said, then that could mean a few things. It may mean that you're immature. So this is why young people in their teens and 20s usually think this way, because they're kids and they got to grow up a little bit. A lot of people don't know what it's like to have to, pay your own bills. So it would never even enter somebody's mind to take up a teacher's time for free. I mean, you'd be like, that doesn't make any sense. Because that person, this is their job. You wouldn't go to a grocer or a plumber or a dentist or a doctor or a carpenter. You wouldn't go to them and say, hey, will you build me a house for free? They're like, I can't. Teachers are no different. And this shows the immaturity. And as I said, the transference of wanting a parent. Because a parent, their whole life is devoted to taking care of that kid. And the kid should assume that mommy and daddy has to spend all of their spare time taking care of me and feeding me and clothing me. And that's their job. Because that's the truth. They go out to work. So, you talk about, I don't have to have this, but people have families like, I got to go out and, I got to support my kids. And they go and they do jobs they don't want to do so they can come home and pay the bills and pay for, little Katie's braces and little Johnny's tennis shoes. They know that. And so that is a real thing. But to want that from somebody that's not your parent, who is a spiritual teacher, to expect them, like this guy he doesn't want to just learn from me. He wants to be my apprentice. which means he wants significant chunks of just me and him time. And he feels it's unspiritual of me to put that blockade between him and whatever spiritual knowledge. Again, I don't think he even knows what I teach. So, I mean, I don't think he knows what he wants. Like I said, I think that's the biggest problem. Forget all the other stuff. The other thing is, I would think to myself, I don't know what to teach him because he doesn't know what he wants. And that's, I have to go, do I have something of value to give to this person? You want to learn spirit fighting, you want to learn runes, you want to learn Qigong, you want to learn, the mantra, all the stuff that I teach. Oh, I have that. I can teach you that. If I don't know what you want, how can I help you? Anyway. So let's see what else. Other questions. By the way, that doesn't mean, again, if there are students of mine out there who don't know what they want, it doesn't mean that I can't help them. I can. But you should want to figure out what you want. Anyway, I'm happy to take any questions here. This is a question and answer. So let me see here. If you have a question, write the word question and then ask your honest question, and I'll do my best to help you. So let's see here. Andrew C. had asked, is premarital sex a sin? And before that, the message didn't get put up because YouTube will automatically filter out messages it thinks might be unsavory. And his first question is masturbation a sin? So Andrew, I mean, welcome to the channel. You're obviously new to the channel. I don't deal in sin. I mean, look at all the videos I have against monotheism and Christianity. So sin doesn't exist. What was taught to me by my teacher is that sin stands for self-induced negativity. So he asks the next question. He says, is premarital sex a sin? And, I don't know what you want me to say. I said no to both of those. There's nothing at all wrong with having a pleasant sexual experience in life. Go out and be as sexual as you want. There's nothing unspiritual about it. If it makes you happy, in fact, it's a physical need, you should do whatever you need to do to take care of it. As long as you can figure out the way how to do that, hold on to your integrity and be kind to others, that's part of the lesson of that. Let's see, who else? God Emperor. No, he's not talking to me. Felix, they're not talking to me either. Again, okay, question, Felix. Does this mean I shall empty my cup towards the universe? Yeah, that's exactly what that means. When you learn how to ask questions of a teacher, then you know how to ask the universe. Asking questions like, guide me to the teaching that will bring me to my highest evolution. Not tell the universe, I want this, I want that. And you have to also trust. You have to trust a teacher. Now, I'm not saying you should trust everybody that walks down the road, but if you decide you want to work with somebody, you have to trust them. You have to hold on to your intuition and find out, like we talked about cults before. At some point, all those people in those cults, their inner flags went off. But I'll tell you, the reason why those people stayed in those cults is that they had an agenda. They were being abused, they were being manipulated, and whoever that cult leader is or was is seeing the weakness in them and is using it. But there's also a personal agenda. Now, this guy asking me to teach him for free, he may not realize it, but he has a personal agenda. His personal agenda is he wants me to love him. He wants me, that's his personal agenda. He wants love. He wants love and approval and all the stuff he didn't get from his parents. And he's decided he's looking for a teacher that will give him that. And right now he's got his, his radar on me. And he lets me know in so many words, which I won't go into, that he's decided that I might be what he's looking for. And, if you want me to be your student, you better, he's trying to manipulate me. But he's got an agenda, which is he wants me to love him. So anytime that a teacher abuses you, it means that you had a personal agenda. I mean, I've been around the block long enough to know, that you do not get personally, romantically involved with a student. Don't do it. And I've skirted around that, when somebody comes to me and they're not my student, they haven't paid me, and then, I try and connect because, but it always works out badly every single time. So now I know if anybody comes to me through that their first interaction with me is through my channel or through anything else, I know that I can only be here as a teacher. That's just the way it is. If I meet somebody outside of this and we become friends and they want to learn, then I can share my spirituality, maybe teach them something, but it's because we've established a relationship outside of that. So any teacher that wants to have a personal connection with you, and he even mentioned about that, something about testing the connection or something. I'm not interested in having a connection with you. I'm interested in whether or not I can teach you and give you a connection with the universe. I'm just the middleman. What was I talking about? So yeah, empty your cup towards the universe. Yep. And teachers will show you how to do that. You can't have an agenda with teachers. Your only agenda should be, I want to learn from them. That should be your only agenda. And that means you're willing to learn from them even if they don't like you and or you don't like them. I've had that experience with my teachers. No shortage of my teachers where I just did not like them, and there were times when I knew that they didn't like me, but they had a skill I wanted. And so I stayed and I dealt with whatever weirdness or craziness or, unconsciousness on their part because they had what I wanted. And after that, because I do as a student, I feel, I'm a traditional student. If I give my allegiance to a teacher or a teaching, then I stick with that teacher. I stick with them even if they're unconscious, as long as, they don't break any of the boundaries and vice versa. I stay with them. But when I've gotten to the stage where I go, does this person have anything else that I want that I need them to teach me? And if the answer is no, then I leave. If I'm not getting something out of it, if I'm not learning, I leave. So the other thing is even if I don't like them, I stay if they have something that I need. And I compensate them with money. So here's the other thing. One of the rules of the universe is in order to get something from the universe, you must sacrifice. So here's another thing that my friend didn't understand when he wrote me this email. He didn't understand that in order to get spiritual knowledge, in order to get that transmission from the ancestors, you must sacrifice. If that means sacrificing, a cow to the gods, it means that cow, you think about that. The reason why they sacrificed animals is because animals were the most expensive possession that you have. Nowadays, it would be your car. Sacrificing a cow would be like sacrificing your car to the gods. It's like it's a big deal. So it has to hurt. Even a little bit. It has to hurt a little bit. Now, that sounds really bad, except that I've proven it to myself on the other end. When I was younger, because I wanted my teacher to teach me the advanced forms and the sets faster than he was, I didn't like that. I didn't say that to him, but I felt, he's wronging me. He's stringing me along. And so I was going to teach, and I wasn't going to charge, and I was going to teach somebody everything that I knew. Now, I had permission to do it, and it was good. It's good in the beginning sometimes to teach people for free in the very beginning because it gives you, just for your sake, because you get to learn while you're doing it. But what ended up happening was that at the end of teaching that guy, and I taught him for a long time. I want to say at least a year. And I spent hours and hours with this guy, teaching him. It was all for nothing. He just ended up walking away and throwing it away. And I didn't even get, I lost all that time and effort. And I learned, that's why, You have to pay a teacher. One of my other teachers, talked about that there has to be an exchange of energy. Even if it's a nickel, there has to be an exchange of energy. What I learned is that if you really want power, it's going to cost you. Meaning, you have one teacher who has this incredibly powerful technique, which if you practice the technique will give you the power of levitation or whatever, right? That teacher has two students. One student pays 5 cents for it, and he's a millionaire, and he pays 5 cents for it. Another guy is poor and in debt, and he pays $10,000 for it. I can guarantee you the guy who paid $10,000 for it is going to master that technique, and he's going to learn how to levitate. The guy who paid a nickel is not going to get anything out of it. You talk to the guy who paid a nickel, he's going to go, yeah, it was this weird thing, and I tried it, and it didn't work. And, it was a waste of my time. Don't waste your time with it. The guy who paid $10,000 is going to go, it was the most amazing thing I've ever learned, and I can't even begin to tell you how much it has continued to pay off for me. I would have given him $100,000. I mean, I'm telling you, it's worth it. Pay whatever he says, because with this, you can rule the world. I learned that lesson the hard way. And so the truth is, if I really want to teach somebody something of value, if I really care about them, I might charge them a lot. If I'm in a state of mind where I want to learn, then I may lower the price so that I can teach it so that I will learn it. But once I get to a certain level, the best thing to do is to charge them a lot of money. So that's a misunderstanding this guy has. He doesn't understand that the universe will require this of you. Now, if you get one of these things from the universe, let's take Odin, for example. Odin sacrificed himself to himself on the tree of life. And as a result of that, the runes, the mysteries of the universe, revealed themselves to him. And that is how he became the master of the runes. It literally cost him his life. He paid with his life for those mysteries. So what makes you superior to Odin in that you don't need to pay anything for your spiritual wisdom? You just, a teacher, if they're really spiritual, they're just going to teach you. And the other thing is, if you logged in how many hours I spent sitting in front of a teacher, all the money that I spent learning from teachers, all the books that I read, all of the research that I've done, all of the hours of practice, of honing and trial and error with the energy in order to get things to flow perfectly. If you were to put all that together, that's what you're getting when you're with a teacher. So you're not just, that teacher, well, he's just spending an hour with me. No, he's not spending an hour with you. He has spent tens of thousands of, hundreds of thousands of dollars, 20, 30 years, sleepless nights, trial and error, and all the energy that went into all the errors that he made until he got it right. He's giving you in one or two words or in one movement or in one technique the result of all of that, and you're sitting there thinking, why is he charging me money? It is so incredibly, forget about, all of the negative, things in terms of, social graces. It's offensive, it's immature, it's rude, it's narcissistic. Like I said, like this last line is, again, I'm not angry with the guy. He didn't know it. He doesn't know. He's unconscious. He doesn't know. But that last line in his email, for your knowledge is far too vast to simply be an employed spiel for financial gain. All the same, though, to me, the apparent disconnect between spiritual need and purpose to carry on the knowledge and legacy and the barrier erected for monetary gain puzzles me. That is, I'm going to put that among one of the most offensive things anybody's ever said to me as a student to a teacher. Again, it doesn't bother me because I understand this guy doesn't know any better. He's doing the best he can with what he's got. if I truly care about him, then I'm going to let him know, which is what I'm doing with this video. Because here's what, when I read it, I had two thoughts about it. My first thought was, I can't teach this guy. He doesn't have the first clue of what it takes to be a student, and he obviously doesn't want to know. I mean, it would take so much effort for me to try and get him to understand how he needs to let go of his ego for me to even teach him. And I know he'd want to fight with me, I can tell. So he's already putting me on the defensive by telling me all these things, you know. So I was just going to just delete the email. I do that sometimes. I just delete people's emails. And my second thought was to just simply say to him, I'm sorry, I'm the wrong teacher for you. I thought, well, maybe I should give him a response. I did end up giving him a response similar to that. But I thought that it would be helpful to share with you guys. I'll share with you, before I take any more questions, I'll share with you something one of the Grand Masters of the spirit fighting said to us. He had come to visit us. You know, he was my teacher's teacher. And he had come to visit us. And he was watching us do our forms, and he said, you know what's wrong with you guys? He says, you want it too badly. He says, when you want something too badly, you choke it off. This guy here, 4 huge paragraphs. He wants it so badly. The love and approval and acceptance that he thinks will come from a spiritual teacher. He wants it so badly that he employs at least 4 different inauthentic. What I mean by inauthentic is he's not completely revealing his true feelings. He's using all of these facades and these defenses in order to, you know, number one, first try and show me how smart he is. Number two, appeal to my ego and tell me, you know, how great he thinks I am, as though I need his approval. 3, he's going to then tell me how he's the perfect student, and you know, he made the statement that, you know, the universe does this weird little game where he gives people who are truly evolved, he makes them poor. So he tried to put that in there, that's why he can't afford it, because he's so advanced. And then he's going to then try and guilt me into training him by making me feel like I am just in it for monetary gain. And if I really was spiritual, I would get rid of that. And then he would benefit me by allowing me the privilege of teaching the perfect student. And all he really wanted to say was, I really want to connect with you, and I don't have any money. Will you teach me for free? Now, had he done that, I wouldn't have taught him for free, but I would have then told him, here's what you can do. And I would have done everything I could have to help him get to the place where he could have been my student. Any case, let's see if there's any more questions. What about, okay, let's see here. Jacko, question, what about self-taught astrology from books? What about it? We're talking about 2 different things. First off, you know, astrology from books is great. I do it. I've learned a lot from books, but I also have had teachers that I've gone to and asked questions and learned from. But, you know, astrology is an intellectual knowledge. You know, it's not the same as a lot of other things. And what people are asking me in terms of, should I have a teacher? Can I do this by myself? They're wanting to know, can they achieve the rainbow body? Can they achieve enlightenment? Understanding astrology isn't necessarily going to give you enlightenment. So it's not in the same category. But there are some people who really take astrology extremely seriously, and for them it is a way to achieve their enlightenment, in which case you have to have a guru and follow the path of the guru and do all that stuff. For me, astrology is a fun hobby, and it has been very helpful for me, but again, I learned the beginnings of that from a teacher, and then I went and studied from books and studied from other teachers. So astrology isn't the same. You know, you're supposed to sort of get a bunch of knowledge and understand it, and then you can do somebody's chart and figure things out. But if I really wanted to become a master Vedic astrologer, which is not what I'm seeking in this life, if I wanted that, then I would. I would go and I would travel to wherever I needed to go, and I would sit at whosever feet, and I would take whatever initiation, and I would do all that. So for me, if astrology was my path towards achieving enlightenment, I would do it. It's not. So if you want a self-taught astrology from books, go right ahead. Again, Jacko, I don't know who you're talking about there. God Emperor question: how do I connect with the Ascended Masters? I mean, listen to how huge that question is. I mean, what do you expect from me? Do you expect me to say, take the blue pill, take the red pill? I mean, that's just such a huge question. There's all kinds of different ways. Find somebody who has a technique on how to do it and learn from them. That is kind of the question of somebody, God Emperor. It sounds like you've never studied with anybody. And I'm not judging you for that. It's just how it comes across to me. Because there's all different kinds of techniques. Which technique do you want to use? This is why teachers are good. This is what teachers are there for. Oh, you were anti-commie. All right. Well, congratulations. You changed your name. So that was good. Now you're God Emperor. I'm not trying to make fun of that name, God Emperor. In fact, it didn't strike me as a bad name at all. I now that I realize it, that's, yeah, you're working towards becoming God Emperor. Well, it's a little, there's a, you're not just God and you're not just Emperor, you're God Emperor. So you have control over the whole, well, okay. But that's a hell of a lot better than anti-commie. 55 million monkeys. It's not a question. It's not a question. Nature Girl in Arizona, I honestly have zero agenda. No, that's not true. That is absolutely 100% categorically false. You may believe what you just said, but it is impossible for you not to have an agenda. Here's what I glean from that. You have tremendous shame. This is very new agey, by the way. You've been told that a spiritual person has no desires and has no negative thoughts, and that's just not true. There's nothing wrong with having an agenda. Agenda isn't bad. I know it sounds bad because you say the evil emperor's agenda, and we associate the word agenda with something bad. It just means desire. It means a goal. What is your goal? When you're making love to somebody, your goal is to pleasure yourself and pleasure them. That's your agenda. When you're at the grocery store, your agenda is to get the groceries that you need to eat for the evening. There's nothing wrong with having an agenda. But there's a lot wrong with not knowing what your agenda is and not being able to allow yourself to have an agenda. Like I said, that guy, if he had come to me and knew what he wanted, and if he was able to say, and I'm not saying everybody can do that, that's again one of the reasons we go to teachers, is so that they can help us understand what we really want. If he had said, I really want to connect with you and I don't have any money, will you teach me for free? That would mean he would know what his agenda was. But when he starts coming at me with all these different things, telling me how great he is, kissing my ass, manipulating me through telling me that my job is to teach somebody all my stuff, and then trying to make me feel guilty for charging, all of those things are defenses against his real feelings. And there's another guy, and this happens all the time, but I tell people, get out of your head and talk from your feelings. Because if you talk from your feelings, I can help you. You talk from all the intellect, I can't help you. But it's what we do. Our intellect is there to protect us. When you're with somebody who's not loving, who's not evolved, who's not spiritual, you have to have an intellect in order to be able to deflect all their agendas and bullshit in order to survive. And so if you grew up in a house where you didn't have true love, which nobody truly does. I mean, there's always something wrong somewhere. But if you came from a dysfunctional family where you weren't allowed to have your feelings and your parents didn't truly see you for who you were and loved you for who you were, then you're going to have all these intellectual defenses. And one of them is, I have no agenda. And that's just not true. Let me say this. If I'm dating somebody, like if I'm looking for somebody to date, I want them, when they feel it, to be able to look me in the face and say, I feel murderously rageful towards you right now. When you said this, it made me feel this way. I'm going to pull out a ring and I'm going to say, will you marry me? And the reason I'm going to do that is because they will be able to be honest about their feelings. Now, it doesn't mean that I agree with what they said, and that doesn't even mean that they think that they agree with what they just said. It's just that they have the ability to be authentic with their feelings. Telling me that you have no agenda, at the very least, means you don't understand what that means, and that you haven't been given the right to have all of your feelings, negative and positive. It's just not possible for you to not have an agenda and be human. And if I was with a woman, like on a date, and she looked me in the face and said, I literally have no agenda, I would say, thank you, check please. And I would pay the bill, and I would say, it was very nice meeting you, and I would never talk to that person again. Because what would happen is that person does have an agenda, and the worst part is they're totally clueless about the agendas that they have. So what will happen is, when they go after their agenda, they're going to start coming at me in all kinds of passive-aggressive, angry, blaming, manipulative, codependent ways, and it's going to be hell. So, you didn't ask a question, but I have to acknowledge that there. Bob, you question, regret and accountability. How can one take responsibility without regretting the past? Well, regret, what does regret mean? I mean, there are things I look back in the past. I mean, I can honestly say I don't regret the past. Because, I wouldn't be who I am. And I like who I am. So if you like who you are, you won't regret the past. Now, it's okay to regret the past. It just means that you don't like who you are now. That's okay. It's okay to have whatever feeling, and it's okay to be wherever you're at. But how do you not regret the past? By taking full advantage of the present. When you take full advantage of the present, then the past becomes the past. And when I say take full advantage of the present, I've got some videos. You can either get my book or watch my videos where I read my book. I have no shortage of videos on my channel about this. You can go searching for it. The Shamanic Secret Command. Command to a Perfect Life. And what I talk about in those videos and in that book and if you go to thunderwizard.com, there's also the Manifestation Mastery course. What I talk about in those, and you can watch it on the free channel as well, there's some Manifestation Mastery course videos you can watch. I talk about that your only purpose here in this life is to live the desires of your soul. And your whole life is around trying to become conscious of that. And when you can become conscious of what your soul wants, go do it. And when you do that, you won't have any regrets. Now, if you have regrets, it means that when you do become aware of your soul desire, you will fight with yourself about it because you don't know the difference between what you're supposed to do and what you want to do. And when you can become aware of, my agenda is to get mom and dad and God and the universe and everybody else to love me, and that's going against my desire to become a goth ballerina, then you'll realize that the most important thing you can do is be a goth ballerina, even though everybody's trying to tell you you need to become a football player. There was a guy I just blocked on the channel, and because we got into a big back and forth on the YouTube comments. And it was a video where I was talking about the destructiveness of Christianity. And I talk in depth, you're welcome to watch it, about how incredibly destructive the religion is. And he started this spiel talking about how, all religions have some truth in it, and it's really just the priests that are this and that. And I got frustrated with it, and it was offensive to me. And the reason why it was offensive was he obviously hadn't watched the video. That he has this new age desire where he wants everybody to love him and he doesn't want to be a bad guy. I'm not judging him for that. And so he has this spiel that he repeats all the time, which is that, it's just those evil priests. The priests have taken Christianity and the Gospels and usurped them for their own this, but the truth is that there's some, and I can tell that's his thing. And it frustrates me that he used my video instead of listening to what I said, and he used that as a platform for him to just knee-jerk throw that out. So we went back and forth a couple times, and he didn't even respond to what I said, and then he would go on long paragraphs trying to explain and intellectualize this, and I finally had to block him. Because I said, listen, this is obviously important to you. Go teach it. Don't waste your time trying to tell me. Go teach it. But that was a defense. That defense of everybody's the same. What he really wants is he wants his parents, who probably were Christian, to accept him. And at the same time, he doesn't want to be told he's bad for, not following the religious line. So he makes up, I'm not religious, but Jesus is sort of okay. And instead of listening to what I was saying about, here, let me tell you why Jesus isn't okay. Instead of having the open-mindedness to sit and listen to that and then having an opinion, he just needed to spout his need to be okay. And everybody's the same and we're all good and I want everybody to like me, which is what was his unconscious purpose for that. So what that has to do with is that you will run into that when your soul tells you, I want to be a goth ballerina. And your parents and society said, no, you're supposed to be a football player. You are going to fight. If you are more attached to getting the love and approval of others, then you will fight with me whenever I point out to you, you have to follow your soul desire, and you will fight with yourself. If you are more attached to your soul, which means that you're willing to die to the opinions and the approval of everything and everybody else, then your soul will guide you. There's only, as I just got through saying how horrific the Christian Bible was in the New Testament, there's one passage in the New Testament that is actually quite brilliant. And this is, of course, I don't believe Jesus ever existed, but this is something Jesus supposedly said. As he's going through one of these towns saying, the kingdom of God, follow me, etc., etc., somebody runs out from his house and says, Master, Master, I want to follow you, but first let me bury my parents. To which Jesus responds and he says, let the dead bury themselves. If you can't pick up and follow me and reject mother, father, sister, brother, then you're not worthy of me. And he kept on walking. And then it says that the man hung his head in shame because he was very sad. Now that sounds like a big deal, but in actual Jewish tradition, especially 2,000 years ago, it was a huge deal because it was very, very important to bury the bodies as quickly as possible because they didn't have embalming. And if you left the body out for more than 24 hours, it starts to rot. And it's very horrible for all kinds of things. But on top of that, it was really frowned upon in their spiritual tradition. So a person who did not bury their parents showed their parents the greatest respect by burying them within 24 hours. Anybody who didn't do that was the worst person that ever lived. So Jesus wasn't just being cute, assuming that he said that. He would have been saying, I want you to commit blasphemy. If you want to follow me, you have to be the most blasphemous Jew that ever lived. He was making it impossible. Now, when you run into your unconscious attachment for love and approval from others, and you have to look at your soul desire, it will be that. You will feel as though you are committing the ultimate blasphemy. You will be filled with shame. Of course, that's the extreme end. For some people, it's not as intense, but for me, it was very hard. And this will happen even if your parents are dead. You will have ideas in your head about who you're supposed to be and what a good person is. And when you start going against that, you will have all kinds of internal conflict which can come out in disease and poverty. That guy who came to me and said, I'm a spiritual person, that's why I don't have money. I say, no, you don't have money because you're in conflict. You're in conflict with your soul desire. And the worst thing I can do for you is let you train with me for free. The best thing I can do for you is to say, if you really want what I have, you'll do whatever you have to do to afford training with me. Otherwise, you don't want it bad enough. And then he would go and find the money and get what he really wanted. But I don't think he really wants to train with me. Anyway, let's see, what else? Nature Girl in Arizona, if you mean what you say, then you have a very serious mental disorder. There's nothing spiritual about it. Assuming what you say is true. I don't think it is. I think it's a defense mechanism. I have zero connection here. I love the planet, but do not connect with humans. I don't believe that. The person who says that is the person who desperately wants to connect with humans, wants to connect with them so badly that they're hurt, and or you've been hurt. You've been hurt so badly that you can't tolerate the thought of being hurt again, so you cut yourself off. So again, I got to call bullshit on that. And if this was true, you wouldn't be human. You wouldn't have incarnated. So I'm not going to co-sign your victimhood here. I think you're in denial. I think what you really want is you desperately want love. And you're either in denial or you're disconnected from that. So again, I don't believe any of it. So I'm not going to co-sign that for you. Bob Yu, question. Yeah, I already said that. So we talked about regretting the past, not listening and making change. I find myself stuck in regret for choosing victimhood and not healing from abuse. Well, you're not being specific. That's very general. So you're beating yourself up for beating yourself up. That's what you just said. I find myself stuck in regret for choosing victimhood. So victimhood means you beat yourself up. Anybody who believes that the universe is out to get them, that Joe Biden is out to get them, Donald Trump has destroyed your life, that archons are keeping you from achieving enlightenment, that you're trapped in a matrix, that you've been reincarnated because there's a punishing evil God. You'll never be able to make it in this society because you're a true artist and nobody loves you. If you have any of those kinds of feelings, it means that you've been taught to beat yourself up, to tell yourself you're a worthless piece of crap, because underneath all that, you don't believe that you deserve it. Somebody trained you to feel that way. And so your job is to now become aware of who you truly are so you can stop feeling that way. But it also means that the rest of us are not going, if we love you, we're not going to co-sign your victimhood. Now, you're acknowledging that you've victimized yourself, but now you're going to beat yourself up for beating yourself up. So, I know here, I'll tell you why you do this. The reason why you beat yourself up is because you were taught as a kid that you would be loved if you beat yourself up. So what happened is you were shamed as a kid somehow. I don't know how your parents did it, but they shamed you for being yourself and having your feelings. And you want, like any kid, you want them to love you. So in order to get their love, you will preempt the abuse and you'll abuse yourself. So you start beating yourself up and shaming yourself so that when they come to shame you, you can go, no, I already did it. You don't have to shame me. Do you love me now? I'm a horrible person. You're right, I'm horrible. Do you love me now? That's why you do it. So that feeling that you have of regret is you're still trying to get mommy and daddy to love you, and you're going to show them how much you're a good boy by beating yourself up and regretting your past, even regretting the fact that you chose to be a victim. Don't regret it. You did what you had to do to survive. Now you don't have to. So there's going to be a process of learning how to become conscious and letting that go. That's what psychologists are for. I strongly recommend Nature Girl in Arizona. Go see a psychologist. She has some major issues. Like I said, either you have a serious personality disorder like borderline personality disorder or something like that, or you're in a lot of pain and you're giving us this bullshit about I don't connect with anybody, when what you really want to say is you want to break down in tears because you say, I love everybody and I really want people to love me and I'm afraid they're going to hurt me and I'm mad at them for not loving me. That's more human. If you did that, if I saw you write that, I would rush to take care of you. I would surround you and want to protect you and hold you and make you feel better. But telling me that you don't give a shit about me, which is what you just said, I have zero agenda, I'm not from this planet. Well, you obviously are, because you just wrote on a computer which is on Earth, and you're in a human body which is on Earth, so you are from this planet. Wherever your soul came from doesn't matter now, because you're a human now. So, let's just stop that bullshit right there. I have zero connection here. I love the planet, but do not connect with humans, never have. So then why are you listening to me? I'm a human. You obviously must think I'm a worthless piece of shit, because you don't want to connect with me either. Why are you here? Obviously you connect with people. Let's cut the shit. You deserve to be loved, and you want to be loved. Stop bullshitting yourself. I'm not buying it. Nobody else buys it either. Let's see, what else? Let's see, where did we go here? Return of the Magi threw down $3. I don't know if that's Australian money or whatever, but thank you. I'll take it in whatever form it comes. I appreciate that. Because you know why? I'm worth it. I'm not going to be one of those teachers that says, no, don't give me any money. No, I've been now talking now for an hour and a half or more. I'm giving up my afternoon where I could be surfing or swimming in the ocean or whatever. And I'm here talking to you because I care about you guys and I want to help you. So thank you for that money. Thank you. That encourages me to keep going. It's a wonderful thing. I appreciate it. That's not a question. How would you validate the skill and authenticity of a good teacher? By learning from them. Think about your question. If you want to learn a martial art, you go and train with that teacher and find out if you learn anything from them and if they know what they're doing. The spirit fighting, which I can tell you from my personal experience, which is all that I have, is that it is the most devastatingly effective martial art in existence. Now, not everybody has to agree with me on that, and that's okay. But on top of that, it's also the most powerful energetic practice in existence. I struck the mother lode. When I was invited, because here's what happened. I told you how to work with the universe. I wanted to train in martial arts, not because I was afraid I was going to get beat up. I was afraid that because I had PTSD from being abused by my older brother, I was afraid that I was going to kill somebody. Because I'd come close a couple of times and thankfully they backed off. I had gang members come, we're going to take my money, and I started going into my PTSD, which meant I was going to black out and who knows what would have happened. And they saw it, and it scared the shit out of them to such a degree that they left. That scared me more than anything. The look on this Samoan guy. If you know anything about Samoan guys, they're indestructible. And I was a little 145-pound, white guy in his early 20s. And, he locked eyes with me and he was going to give me what for. And I started going into my PTSD, which meant I was going to kill him. That was my thought in my head anyway. And the look on his face when he saw what was going on with me, I'd never seen more fear in my life. And he literally put his head down. If he had a tail, his tail would have gone between his legs. That scared me more than anything. Because I knew if that came out, I'd end up in jail or dead or something. So I wanted to learn martial arts. And I wanted to learn a martial arts so that I could keep myself from going in that, so that I would have some confidence, so that I would never be pushed to that place in my mind. And so I started fantasizing about what kind of practice I wanted to do. And I was sitting at work and I was talking to my friend and I said, should I do Wing Chun or Aikido? Because I was looking for something that was more, non-aggressive, etc. And this Native American guy with hair down to his feet turned around and he said, you want to learn a spiritual martial art? And I said, yeah. And he says, come here on this date. I said, what is it? He said, just show up. I started asking him questions. He said, Dad, just show up. I showed up, and here he was with this little tiny Asian guy, and they're doing this little tap dance. And I was big and muscular, and I started laughing like, And I said, well, I'll give it a try. I'll do it for 30 days. What have I got to lose? If it doesn't work out, I'll try something else. And I'm glad I did, because if I had gone by what I saw, I would have rejected it, which tells you that the universe is constantly giving you what you need if you have the ability to keep your eyes open. But if you have this attitude, which I don't know exactly what your attitude is, but it comes from, you want somebody to guarantee you. I guarantee you ahead of time this spiritual teacher is the right one. That's not going to happen. You're going to have to go and try it out. You're going to have to trust. Trust is a risk, just like love. What I would say to Nature Girl in Arizona, love is a risk, which means that if you're afraid of being rejected and you want to love somebody, the only way to find out if they're going to love you or not is by you loving them first. You have to risk. And you have to assume that you might get your heart broken. You might find a teacher who's a fraud. But I'll tell you something, I've learned more from the frauds than I have from the real teachers, because I learned what not to do. I learned what doesn't work. So no matter how you look at it, you're going to succeed, but you have to trust. I mean, I just want to help you understand the fear behind your question. So let's just listen to your question again. And if you're okay with hearing me, put whatever feelings you have aside. If you feel like I'm attacking you or whatever, just put them aside and listen. Because the mindset behind your question is what's preventing you. You could be being handed. Teachers could be coming along which would have the most powerful thing for you, and you're rejecting them out of the fear of not finding the right teacher. And let's look at your question again. How would you validate the skill and authenticity of a good teacher? I mean, think about that for a second. How is it that you don't know the answer to that question? How would you validate a car? You take it for a test drive. How would you validate whether or not there's a girl, I wonder if we'd have good sex together? How are you going to figure that out? You're going to have to probably go on a few dates and buy some dinner for her and get to know her, and then you're going to find out. The way you validate the skill and authenticity of a good teacher is to go start working with the teacher, and instead of going to them like this guy did and start trying to play games, you go and you act like a good student and you say, yes teacher, what now, and that's what I did. I showed up with this little tiny Japanese guy and this super tall Native American guy, and they're dancing around doing what looks like some weird little show tune dance, and doing these weird little movements that didn't look like anything to me. And I thought it was ridiculous, but I said, okay, tell me what to do. And I went into the weird postures they put me in, and I stood like this, and I did that. And the next thing I knew, all kinds of energy starts going through me. I went, oh. So I had to figure it out. You're going to have to kiss a few frogs. And think about how childish the question is. Because inside that question is, I don't want to have to go looking. I want the perfect one to come to me. I know you didn't realize that's what you were saying, but that's what's in that. So just go do it. You trust the universe. This is an adventure. Life is an adventure. But if you don't trust the universe, you ask questions like that. All right, keep watching my channel and you'll learn more about what I mean about all this. Let's see what else. Edith the Wave, question. So how do we go about finding our soul desire? I already told you how to do that. Again, that's kind of offensive that you had asked me that, because I have a book. So it means you haven't clicked on the links, clicked on my books. I have a book that says the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. I have videos on my channel that's the Shamanic Secret Commandment to a Perfect Life. I have videos on the free and on the Thunder Wizard site, the Manifestation Mastery course. It means you haven't even put the time and effort. I tell you exactly how to do that. So the two most important things in life are pay attention and put effort. Now, I create this channel the way I've learned things in life. And the way I've learned things in life, here, just let me show you. I've got this because I'm getting back into my esoteric training. I've got Taoist, weather, magic, and feng shui. Look at how big this is. Look at all this stuff in there. I want to learn that, so I want to figure stuff out, so I'm learning that. I've got this thing right here, the Essential Internal Martial Arts. And I'm not even showing you all the Kindle books that I've just bought, because now I want to understand what the meridians are and how this meridian works here and why does that. That means I'm putting effort into learning. Nobody's going to hand it to me. I have to go looking for it. You have to go looking for it. You're not going to go looking for it if you don't believe you deserve it. You're not going to believe you deserve it if you don't trust the universe. And if you don't trust the universe and you don't believe you deserve it, and after I've already put it on there, you're going to ask me questions like, how am I going to find my soul desire? You're not paying attention because I'm telling you that it's on my channel, and you're not putting the effort, because if it were me and I'd come on this channel, I would click on the channel page, and then I'd click on videos, and then I'd look at all of the videos, and then I'd look at the playlists. And he's got this, thunderwizard.com. I would click on that and go, oh my God, look at that. He has all these subscription options which go into detail. Oh, I'm just going to click on that. That's putting effort and paying attention. That won't happen if you don't believe that you deserve it. And the people who don't believe they deserve it, in my experience, I experience them as being very immature. They're like little 3-year-olds, where they have to be told absolutely everything, have to be handed it. Spirituality and the universe doesn't tolerate that. The universe is not codependent. So pay attention and put effort. And you have probably 4 or 5 different ways to find out how I have already taught people exactly how to find their soul desire. You've got links up here, you've got the channel, etc., etc. Make use of it. Please don't waste your time by just coming on and watching my videos when I'm live. Put some effort into it. You deserve it. Yeah, Edith the Wave, if you don't feel you're connected to your soul desire, it's because you're not. Because when you are, you know. There's just no doubt. There's no doubt. Ed the Wave. I was calling you Edith. Ed the Wave. Okay, Laz Ray Windcaller question. How do you value different teachers? What does that mean? I value different teachers based on what I want. It tells me you don't know what you want. Now, if you're just out there meaning that I'm just looking for a spiritual teacher, you don't really know what you want to be taught, that indicates to me that it's possible that what you really want is love. Nothing wrong with that either, because people confuse spirituality with love. That's why so many people want to achieve enlightenment, because they think enlightenment will make them feel blissful and loved. And maybe it will, but usually what happens when you go after the blissful and love is you find out, oh, there's this whole thing about figuring out who I am and becoming conscious of who I am. So asking me that question, how would you value different teachers? I mean, if you wanted to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you wouldn't be asking me that. You would be going and looking and seeing, oh yeah, there's that guy and he teaches that. And you would then go and train with somebody. You want to learn how to become a brain surgeon? You would go, oh, how do I evaluate? Let's look at the different medical schools and which one has a good program. And I'm bringing up these specifics because it doesn't sound like you know what you want. So how is a teacher going to be any value to you if you don't even know what they teach and if they have something that you want? You got to figure out what you want. Do you want to be loved? Do you want to become enlightened? I mean, what is it that you want? How can you tell if a specific teacher is right for you? By training with them. How can you tell if the girl you asked out is going to be good in bed? Right? I mean, these are obvious. The answers to these questions are obvious. Aren't they? They seem obvious to me. Having said that, I understand your questions. I'm just trying to reflect back to you guys. The level of disempowerment that we have in our society. Look at how disempowered we are. One girl can't even connect with any humans. One guy doesn't know where to start in terms of finding a teacher. The other guy doesn't know how to find the value of a teacher. And they're asking, how do I do that? I mean, these are obvious questions, and the only way that somebody asks that if they've been severely disempowered. And so acknowledge that. Seek to be empowered, if anything else. Find somebody that will help you find your power so you can figure out what you want. And then when you find out what you want, then go find somebody who can help you get what you want. Let's see what else. T-Dan question, when chanting mantra, do you chant without making noise like whole breath, or should you chant it audibly? That's a very good question. There are 3 ways to chant a mantra. One is out loud. One is whispering. And one is completely silent. And they all do different things. I've gotten to the point now, because of the energy training I'm doing, I can't do mantras out loud because the energy is too intense. It starts giving me a headache. So I have to now do it the quiet way. And I have to do it before I do my energy work because it's just too intense. So when you do a mantra out loud, it's very good if you want to empower your aura. If you want to empower a space, you do it out loud. If you want to do it on the subtle level, more of like the mental level, then you whisper it. If you want to do it on the deepest of the etheric spiritual levels, then you do it the whole breath way, which if you guys don't know what he's talking about, you can just go and look for the whole breath anywhere on YouTube, and I tell you how to chant a mantra silently without using your vocal cords, but using, it's a certain breath technique. Go and find out what that is. And those are all different things. So it's up to you what you want to accomplish. I would try all 3 and do whichever one you want, because that's probably what you need. Bob Yu question, professionals have acknowledged and helped me recognize that what I experienced was childhood abuse. How can I accept what happened but not identify with the trauma, shame, and taught behavior? Well, first and foremost, you need to be in therapy, probably long-term therapy. Sorry, but that's just the way it is. You're going to have to work with, test until you find a good therapist that you can work with, because it's not something that's going to go away overnight. You're not going to be able to fix it yourself. I've been in either 12-step groups and or therapy almost 40 years now. And I'm going to continue. So if you're coming to me because you think I have something of value, I'm here to tell you that I live my life taking advice and direction from people in all different ways, not just spiritual teachers. So that would be my first thing to you. And how can you accept what happened and not identify with the trauma? Again, that's a lifelong question. It's just, that's not a question I can answer in a few minutes. This is one of the things that I do, even though I'm not a therapist, but one of the things that comes up with people who take me on as a teacher in the apprenticeship program is that we talk about it. And I talk with them about it, and I help them become conscious of it, and then I give them energetic and spiritual tools to deal with it. So that's my answer to that question. Let's see. Dakota Kennedy, you won't find spirit fighting martial arts anywhere. This is another thing to know. So the thing that I practice, nobody will be able to find it anywhere. There's probably, maybe on one hand, people in the entire world, and that's guessing. The truth is that I'm only in conversation with one person. There are probably 2 others alive that have powers, but they're not very healthy, so I don't have any contact with them. And outside of that, I don't know how many other people in the world know this particular martial art. So the point is that I was given this because when I asked the universe what I wanted, show me what I need, because I started fantasizing and I said, that sounds amazing, but I don't think that exists. And then I just threw it out there. I said, show me what I need. And then 2 days later, boom, I got invited to something that was invitation only that nobody else knew about. So, this art that I have, nobody's going to find it unless they're meant to find it. And so the good news is there's something that you're meant to have. You don't know what that is yet. So you should be asking the universe, guide me to that thing that I need. Just because I do spirit fighting doesn't mean that's what you need to do. But the other thing to know is that there might be something out there that nobody's ever heard of, that only 10 people in the world know about. And those are people who are working directly with, ascended masters who are giving them all kinds of power. That's why it's really important, if you want to have a real tradition, you have to find a tradition that has a energetic and spiritual transmission of energy. And that's what being initiated into a lineage is all about. When you go and get initiated into a lineage, then that is an energetic connection with those ascended masters, and the teachers are the conduit through that. But yeah, if you don't trust the universe, you won't find them. So start trusting and just say, I trust you to show me the most amazing, intense, and maybe it's something everybody does, like, Yang Tai Chi, or, Hatha Yoga, or it might be some, village style martial art that only 20 people in the world know. But you have to be willing, and you have to trust. If you don't trust and you aren't willing, then it could pass you right by and you'd never know. Two Moons, welcome to my channel. So the first thing that I want from people is to ask an honest question. You asked me a cute question. I don't think it's really that honest, because there's really no answer to it. It's not, you say, if the truth sets us free, what is the truth? I mean, how am I supposed to respond to that? Seriously. I mean, am I supposed to give you the red pill versus the blue pill? I mean, what can I say in a few sentences that's going to answer that question? Are you just looking for some place to waste some time and you thought you'd throw out that cute question? If you have a question because you desperately want to know what the truth is, ask an honest question. Be specific, and I'll do my best to help you. Other than that, welcome to the channel, and please feel free to watch the videos and find out what I teach. And I think maybe you'll get some answers to that question, because that's such a huge question. Guy Home question, are there teachers in other 8 worlds than Midgard that teach humans? Of course. There's a question behind that question, which is, you want to know, can you train with them, and how do you do that? Lazare Windcaller question, what do you think would be a reasonable amount of attention and focus you would need to give daily to learn the Elder Futhark runes? How am I supposed to know? I mean, what do you want me to tell you? I don't know. How much time do you want to spend? I mean, when it comes to things like that, this is like a self-taught, study. You've got the runes in front of you, and I don't know what you mean by focus. Are you talking about chanting them? Are you talking about understanding them? I mean, what is it? For me, I'd be thinking about chanting them and studying them. I mean, the way I've gone is I just do something until I'm, the desire has left me. I don't have to force myself to put time and energy into something. So I kind of don't understand the question. I mean, put as much time into it as you want. I honestly don't know how else to answer that. All right, so that's it for me. The 90-day challenge, there's all this talking that we're doing, and that's what the channel is about. So I have a lot of teaching, like how to exit the matrix. When you go to before it's too late, you can go to lockdown.thunderwizard.com and check that out. $2,000 on stuff where I talk about how to exit the matrix. I talk about runes. I talk about astrology in different courses. You can get that, save $2,000 off of all that stuff. And but then you have to do the work. And so for that, we have the 90-day challenge. go to thunderwizard.com. That's what the link is there for. And click on that and click around for Warrior 90-Day Challenge and try it out for a month. Give yourself 30 days. And if you don't, if you don't get what you want, you can unsubscribe. But you follow along with me as I do. I've spent, 30 plus years learning this stuff, and I've created a specific discipline to get you to the place people ask, how do I find my soul desire? That's one way. So open up the heart center and then use life force energy and Kundalini to be able to know how to do that, to reprogram your mind and get what you want out of life. That's what that is. It's not talk, it's action. Let's see what else. Patrick Neal, your question didn't get put up because it's a really, think about it. Think about your question for a second. I mean, seriously, I want to give you a little spank on the ass. Think about what you've just asked. He asked, should I commit suicide to reincarnate? No, you're not banned. It's just whenever you ask a question that YouTube doesn't like, it takes the question out. So suicide is not a worthwhile thing to be talking about in public. And for you, I want you to think about, so one of two things is going on. Either you are seriously in pain to the point where you need some serious psychological help. Like, if I was standing next to you and you said that, I would be looking up psychologist in the phone book, and I wouldn't let you leave my house until you talked and got an appointment with a psychologist. So you're either in that much pain, or you are playing around with a victim mentality and you think it's cute to throw that out there. Think about what you just asked. And is your life that meaningless? Reincarnation has nothing to do with punishment. Reincarnation is a choice. So the answer to your question, yes, if you did that, you would be forced to reincarnate. You would force yourself to reincarnate, and your life would be twice as hard. So if you're listening to me and you have a really, really, really hard life, it could be because you committed suicide in a past life. And in this life, you forced yourself to deal with it so you don't, you can't throw it away. But seriously, there's just no room for that kind of question in what we're talking about. You owe it to yourself and to the rest of the world to heal yourself. So I recommend going and seeing a counselor right away. What else? What do you mean you want to reincarnate now? What does that mean? It doesn't mean anything. You don't want the life that you have? Well, if you reincarnate, you'll not only have your new life, but you'll take with you all of the unresolved stuff from your past life. It doesn't work like that. You don't get to zero it out. And if you want to zero it out, the way to do that is to learn how to be happy. So commit to learning, to doing whatever the hell it takes to finding what your soul wants to do and living from your soul and being happy. If you want to learn how to do that, one place you can do that here is on this channel. If you watch my videos and practice what I do, you can heal yourself. But you got to be serious, and I don't believe your question is serious. Otherwise, if it is, that's a very sad state of affairs for you. Is the Hool link meant for me? It's meant for everybody. I mean, I explained what, just go, go click on it and find out. The Hool link is for everybody on this channel. If you want to connect to my spiritual teachers, you can chant that for free and you'll be initiated into the ancestors that work with me. Narwhal up. I thought suicide didn't reincarnate. Where did you hear that? No, it's first off, reincarnation is voluntary. That means you can't be forced to reincarnate. It's a choice that you make. Now, here's the other thing. When you leave your human body, all of your human psychological garbage dies, which means all of your fear and your victim mentality, but all of the unresolved desires, which you have shoved down with whatever destructive thought patterns you inherited or learned or picked up. whatever unresolved desires are there, you're going to be thrust with in the underworld. You'll be, oh my God, I wanted to surf, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, and I killed myself. I have to go back and do it. But you know what? The victim mentality thing just keeps getting in the way. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to be born in a family with an abusive older brother and an alcoholic father and an overprotective borderline mother, and then I'll be forced to live a spiritual life in order to heal. I'm talking about myself. So suicide does reincarnate. It forces you, because you will force yourself to come back, and you will choose to make your life twice as difficult so that you'll finally learn the lesson. So the answer to the guy who's talking about wanting to kill himself is stop feeling sorry for yourself. Honestly look at your pain and talk to somebody about it and learn how to love yourself and love life. Otherwise, you can be guaranteed next time around it's going to be worse. It's going to be a lot worse. And I mean that, your soul will have chosen it, but it'll be twice as hard. It's time to grow up. Everybody, listen, I know you've been through a lot. Everybody here, myself included, we've been through a lot. Life can be really challenging, but trust me, your soul is fine. And it's time to grow up. Stop feeling sorry for yourself. Stop not trusting the universe. Stop refusing to take risks, because life doesn't work like that. The universe will not co-sign your victimhood. The universe will reward you for fearlessness, for self-love and trust and fearlessness. You will be rewarded for that. Life may be difficult and challenging for you. You might have to go through a lot of pain to grow. But if you want to become Mr. Olympia, think about how many sore days and injuries you're going to have to put up with. If you want, this life is about that. This life is like the Olympics. It's like your soul came here to achieve unimaginable bliss and happiness and amazingness. And that's not going to come without sacrifice, hard work, discipline, trust, risk. And I'm here to tell you, you can do that. But it's time to grow up. All right. Okay, so Patrick Neal, it's time for you to stop. Do you pick how you reincarnate? You haven't asked any of the right questions. Seriously, I just spent 20 minutes addressing your pain, and your question is, do you get to pick how you look when you reincarnate? The questions that you should be asking are, how can I make this moment in this life the best possible experience? That is going to determine what you reincarnate as. This moment. It's time to let go, man. I don't know how old you are. Are you 10 years old? Are you 12 years old? Are you a little kid? If you are, then all right. Little kids can talk like that. Are you an adult? That's not how adults talk. Stay on my channel. Keep watching it. Don't take anything I'm saying too seriously. I'm saying it out of love. Keep watching my channel and learn how to get the most out of life. All right, that's it. I'm done. I got other stuff I got to do today. Thank you so much for showing up, and I'll see you guys soon. Go to the links. If you want me to stay on the air and keep doing this, this is what keeps the bills, what keeps the lights on and keeps me doing this. Go to thunderwizard.com, courses.thunderwizard.com, and lastly, lockdown.thunderwizard.com. Or if you don't want to do any of that, then watch my channel for free. There's 1,000 videos. Spend all day watching my channels. All right, that's it. Talk to you guys later.